What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and share this video, because what's happening in South Africa right now is sending shockwaves across every corner of the economy. Buckle up, because the pressure is mounting, tempers are flaring, and the public is growing restless. President Cyril Ramaphosa and the newly formed Government of National Unity are taking heavy fire after a massive 30% tariff increase hit local businesses like a thunderbolt, and this time, there's nowhere to hide. The country is reeling. A sudden and steep rise in import tariffs has jolted prices, raised the cost of living, and left entire sectors fuming with frustration. This isn't some abstract economic trend tucked away in a finance report, this is people's livelihoods on the line. From the textile industry to auto parts, from food products to industrial machinery, the hike in tariffs is being felt across the board. And while the government insists this is about protecting local industry and national interests, critics say it's nothing more than political mismanagement disguised as economic patriotism. The backlash has been swift and unforgiving. Opposition leaders, business owners, and even members of the ruling coalition are calling foul. They argue that this drastic move was not only poorly communicated but also recklessly timed, considering the fragile state of South Africa's post-pandemic economy. The rand is struggling, investor confidence is shaky, and inflation is already punishing the poor. For many, the idea of introducing such a harsh tariff spike feels like setting fire to a house that's already crumbling. And at the center of the storm stands President Cyril Ramaphosa. Once hailed as the face of South Africa's economic renewal and anti-corruption crusade, Ramaphosa now finds himself battling the perception that his leadership is slipping into reactive politics and economic panic. What's even more damning is that the blame isn't falling on him alone. The Government of National Unity, a coalition of strange bedfellows brought together after the country's historic election deadlock, is also taking heat. Critics are accusing the GNU of being more focused on managing internal turf wars than addressing real economic concerns. Inside sources suggest that the 30% tariff hike was the result of rushed, late-night meetings filled with heated arguments, last-minute compromises, and a desperate need to present a unified front to international observers. But if unity was the goal, the result has been anything but. Instead of strengthening the country's economic standing, the decision has exposed deep divisions within the GNU and sparked concerns that policy is now being driven by short-term political survival rather than long-term economic planning. Business chambers are sounding the alarm. Manufacturers are warning of job cuts. Importers are freezing their operations. Retailers are scrambling to adjust their pricing strategies, while consumers brace for another round of price shocks at the tills. One Johannesburg business owner said it best, "They've declared a war on small business." That's what this is. They want us to support local industry, but how are we supposed to do that when local suppliers are overpriced, unreliable, or simply unavailable? Social media has exploded with outrage. Memes, protest hashtags, and furious rants are flooding platforms like X and Facebook. "We didn't vote for tariffs," reads one trending post. "We voted for jobs, hope, and lower food prices." The people are angry, and the government's explanations aren't calming anyone down. Official spokespeople say the tariff increase is designed to encourage local production and reduce dependency on foreign goods, particularly from nations accused of dumping cheap products into South Africa's markets. But this logic isn't winning hearts, especially when households are already struggling to afford the basics. And let's not forget the international angle. Trade partners are watching closely, and not kindly. Rumors are circulating that some countries may retaliate with tariffs of their own, potentially sparking a trade conflict that South Africa can ill afford. If the country becomes seen as unpredictable or protectionist, it could lose the very foreign investment Ramaphosa has spent years trying to attract. Some analysts are even speculating that these tariffs could jeopardize ongoing negotiations with the United States around AGOA extensions and other trade benefits. The irony is painful, in trying to protect the economy, the government may have just put it at greater risk. So, what now? Is there a path forward that doesn't involve more damage? Some factions within the GNU are reportedly urging a rollback or at least a partial suspension of the tariffs while impact assessments are carried out. Others want the president to call an emergency economic summit to bring together business, labor, and civil society for crisis talks. But with so much political capital already spent defending the move, reversing course could look like weakness, and that's a price no politician in this fragile coalition wants to pay. The stakes couldn't be higher. Ramaphosa and the GNU are already facing growing skepticism over their ability to govern effectively. From service delivery meltdowns to power shortages, to a rising tide of crime and unemployment, this administration has no shortage of challenges. The 30% tariff increase was supposed to signal bold leadership. Instead, it may go down as one of the most unpopular decisions of Ramaphosa's presidency. And yet, amidst the noise, some voices are calling for patience. They argue that this is a long-term play, that economic pain today could mean industrial strength tomorrow. That South Africa needs to become less reliant on imports if it wants to chart an independent, resilient path forward. But that's a tough sell when people can't afford basic goods, when jobs are being lost, and when every decision feels like it's made in a vacuum. One thing is certain, this tariff issue isn't going away. It's the kind of policy grenade that explodes slowly, sending shrapnel through the economy, the political class, and the national mood. Whether Ramaphosa and the GNU can contain the blast or end up consumed by it remains to be seen. So, keep your eyes locked on this space. Because what happens next might not just decide the future of trade policy, it could decide the future of Cyril Ramaphosa himself. Make sure to subscribe for more explosive updates, behind-the-scenes political drama, and unfiltered commentary on South Africa's most critical moments. Drop a comment below. Was this tariff hike a necessary evil or a catastrophic misstep? Let's break it down, right here, with no sugarcoating.